Well, good morning to you. Happy Monday. How are you doing? I expect many of you watching are probably familiar with my face. If you are, hello. It's great to see you again. Hope you're doing well. For those of you watching who aren't so familiar with who I am, my name's Phil. I used to be a member of Sunny Hill Church. I still am a member of Sunny Hill family. And it's great to meet you. I'm a pastor now down in Penzance, and it is my joy this week, to be reading through the book of Galatians with you. Galatians is a powerful book, and it's a particularly challenging book. You know, each book of the Bible has a different tone, doesn't it? Some books are encouraging, some books are uplifting, some books are more comforting. This one is challenging. I want to suggest that as we read through this book together, if you are not forced to reflect deeply on your own relationship with God and your understanding of the gospel, then you've probably not read it as carefully as you should have. Because by the end of this book, we should all have been challenged to think carefully about who we are before God and how we understand the gospel. The passage for today is verses 1 through to 10, and this is how it begins. Paul, an apostle, not from men nor through man, but through Jesus Christ and God the Father, who raised him from the dead, and all the brothers who are with me. To the churches of Galatia, grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. As we read on in this book, you're going to discover pretty quickly that Paul is not happy. In fact, he is angry. He is angry with the Christians at Galatia because they are beginning to turn to a different gospel. And so some of the words that Paul has for the church there are quite stinging in their tone. He's going to say things like, "You are fools. How could you be so stupid? I am astonished that you are turning away so quickly." Paul is angry, I think, is a fair way to describe him. Because, as we're going to discover, the church, the Christians in Galatia, are beginning to distort the gospel, the message of the good news of Jesus Christ. They're beginning to turn it into something that it never was. And so Paul has some pretty stinging rebukes for them throughout the rest of this letter. And you know, sometimes that is the reality of what it means to be part of a community of faith. Sometimes we all need rebuke, correction, instructions. Sometimes we all need some harsh words. Sometimes Jesus himself will speak words of rebuke to us. And sometimes the Spirit of God will prompt us to correct and warn and instruct one another. And that's what Paul is doing in this letter here. But did you notice how the letter begins? Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Yeah, for sure, Paul's got some harsh words for the Galatians, but his first word to them is grace and peace. I think that's really profound and important to reflect on. Yes, there are times when we need to offer some words of warning and correction to one another as disciples, as brothers and sisters in the family of God. But those kind of words should never, ever be divorced from grace and peace. Grace and peace should always be our first word to one another, and it's God's first word to us. Even when we are believing things that don't honor him, even when we're behaving in ways that bring his glory into disrepute, his first words to us is always grace and peace. So before we hear Paul's words of stinging rebuke over the next few days, hear these words: grace and peace to you. See you tomorrow.